So on the second Friday of each month, we have a little songwriting circle that we meet virtually online. It's on a Zoom meeting. And there's not too many people there, usually 4 of us regulars, but anybody else is invited. But it's turned into kind of where we talk about songwriting, focused on songwriting. It's more of an academic approach, I guess. And we have little song challenges. One of the challenges was to write about an abuse or an abuser. Well, I don't have that much abuse in my life. So I was watching YouTube videos, and one rolled across my site about the Salton Sea. I didn't know anything about the Salton Sea, but it turns out the Salton Sea is the largest body of water in the state of California. And it was formed by accident back in 1905 when an irrigation canal broke and the Colorado River flooded the Imperial Valley. The sea formed in a low spot, and it was turned into a big resort area. It became just a fabulous destination for movie stars, anybody who wanted to go to a resort. Well, they fixed the breach in the irrigation canal, and that shut off the water supply for the Salton Sea. It became a dead sea, and the only water feeding it was runoff from the irrigation from the farming, which meant a lot of fertilizers and pesticides flowed into the sea. And eventually it polluted the water, so it became just a toxic mess, a huge environmental disaster. And I thought, that's worth writing a song about. So I came up with some characters for the song, and this is my song about abuse, actually. Rudy met her in the morning, picked her up at 5, drove all the way to Barstow before they saw sunrise. After a stop for breakfast of some donuts and iced tea, they continued across the desert until they reached the Salton Sea. Sarah was barely 21, Rudy was 63. He was the leader of a church, she was in his laity. The scandal caused an uproar, and his wife divorced him that year. With all the gossip flying, Rudy and Sarah had to disappear. A rundown cabin on Bombay Beach became their hideaway. Years ago, a paradise, now broken and decayed. Bombay Beach was perfect for the life that they made. When the seabed dried up and the waters withdrew, dust clouds filled the sky when the desert winds blew. Sarah got sick from breathing the toxic, dirty air. She choked up some blood and passed out in her chair. Someone called an ambulance. It took an hour to arrive. By then, poor Sarah was no longer alive. Rudy said a prayer and bowed down to confess. Like the Salton Sea, his life was a mess. Bombay Beach on the Salton Sea, the desert winds are crying. Once a paradise under tall palm trees, the only other thing is dying. That night he had a dream. He saw Sarah waiting there. She looked not like the first time he saw her at evening prayer. A wave of shame came over him. He had abused his ministry. The next day they found him dead, dead in the Salton Sea. Bombay Beach on the Salton Sea. The desert winds are crying. Once a paradise under shady palm trees. The only other thing is dying. Bombay Beach on the Salton Sea. The desert winds are crying. Once paradise under tall palm trees. The only other thing is dying. The only other thing is dying. The only other thing is dying.